history, and who is to know where mythology leaves off and history begins, or which is which? The first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom, Lucifer. So he dedicated his book to Lucifer.
So, I mean, if you want to take that as a dedication, what it means that the left would rather be ruler in hell than subject in heaven. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. But I think there are certain key trends that come out of this book that define the left wing in America. And because I'm talking about interfaith from that perspective, it would be good to just kind of take that in. I personally have no doubt that Soros is a major player in American politics through Alinskyism. And there's a couple key points to Alinskyism. One is it's to reduce all thinking to meaninglessness. Okay? And I'll give an explanation here. The second thing is to try, I'll say, sacred terms in the public space, in the religious space, take iconic terms and redefine them and use them for a different purpose. Okay? You see that that's happened in the religious community. You see this has happened in the political sphere. So, with that...
You want me to quickly explain, read a little bit about Alinsky? Because you're going to be mentioning him, so...
Yeah.
Especially what is it called? The Industrial Areas Foundation, right? You have that in your brief?
Yes.
Okay. Also, der Saul Alinsky ist klarerweise, wie man nach dem Namen hört, ein Jude, ein US-amerikanischer Bürgerrechtler, Wegbereiter des sogenannten Community Organizing und Gründer des sogenannten Industrial Areas Foundation. Aufgewachsen ist er im jüdischen Ghetto von Chicago und die Alinsky später das Slum District of the Slum nannte. Er hat sich von seinem Glauben distanziert, also er war dann eher ein Atheist. Er studierte Kriminologie und Soziologie ab 1930, hatte aber ein ambivalentes Verhältnis zur Soziologie. Wie gehen wir dann weiter? Der Aufsatz von einem Autor namens Ernest Burgess, der nannte sich Can Neighborhood Work Have a Scientific Base, hatte sich dann aufgrund dessen für die Nachbarschaftsarbeit interessiert. Dann, was wollte ich sagen? Ja, also da geht es dann um Community Organizing, wo er sich dann, also dieser Saul Alinsky sich dann ganz besonders engagiert hat. Und zwar im sogenannten Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council. Und da waren, und das ist glaube ich sehr wichtig, nahezu alle wichtigen lokalen Organisationen, Gewerkschaften, Geschäftsleute, Vertreter von Sport- und Sozialvereinen, Lehrer sowie, und das ist wichtig, Priester vertreten. Das heißt, es ist da einmal gleich praktisch die gesamte Gesellschaft drinnen gewesen. Da hat er sich also engagiert, allerdings später dann sich von diesem Back of the Yards Neighborhood Council wieder distanziert und hat dann 1939 die sogenannte Industrial Areas Foundation gegründet, und die ist dann wichtig, weil das sich dann darauf öfter beziehen wird. Diese IAF sollte, und da zitiere ich jetzt direkt von Wikipedia, Probleme wie das Back of the Yards Viertel hatten, sollte als Bürgerorganisation, als Beratungs- und Koordinierungsstelle dienen, die in Vierteln aktiv war, die vergleichbare Probleme wie eben diese sogenannte Back of the Yards Viertel hatten. Darüber hinaus diente die IAF als finanzielle Absicherung für Alinsky, der danach als professioneller sogenannter Organizer tätig war. Einige der größten zivilgesellschaftlichen Erfolge Alinskys Arbeit waren Organisationskampagnen zur Verbesserung der Lebensbedingungen in Ghettos der Afroamerikaner in Chicago sowie zur Gleichstellung von schwarzen Arbeitern, wie zum Beispiel bei der Firma Kodak, das war 1964. Er starb 1972. Und mittlerweile ist die Industrial Areas Foundation das größte Netzwerk für Community Organizing in den Vereinigten Staaten mit 56 assoziierten lokalen Organisationen in 21 Bundesstaaten in Kanada, Großbritannien und Deutschland, was sehr interessant ist.
Is there more?
Nein, im Prinzip, er hat schon angesprochen, also zwei seiner größten Bewunderer sind Hillary Clinton und Barack Obama, und damit können wir wieder zurückgehen, damit wir ein bisschen wissen, aber den sollten wir nicht aus den Augen verlassen, diesen Sauerwinski. Wer schauen, dass ich mich ein bisschen einlese, eventuell machen wir mal einen Abend darüber.
So I guess it's important to understand, because I think I have a slide where I basically say there's real information. In the United States, there's a very left-wing organization called the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. If you go after a brotherhood front group called CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, and you don't realize you're going to be attacked by the ACLU, you're not getting it. You know, and what I mean by that is, you could be attacking on two fronts. If you attack on one front, you have to block on another front. But if you're going to go after one, you really realize you have to have the other one accounted for. And the other thing I basically try to get people to understand is, you not only have to make your statement, you have to anticipate how they're going to respond, and you already have to have answered their response and go. Here's a couple quotes we have from 2012. This is right after the video, the YouTube clip, in which there's really good evidence that this was a managed event. Do you remember talking about the YouTube clip of Muhammad that caused all these actions? Well, there's really compelling evidence that this was something that was started and planned out as an event, just like the decision to go after Pope Benedict, the decision to have the cartoon crisis, where you saw all these, not just radical groups, but state actors get involved in it. So how do you understand that the President of the United States said this to the United Nations in 2012? So if you're an American like me, you kind of want to understand where things are going. But let me say this. 2 nights ago, we had the OSCE say the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay? The same thing. And so what I would like to say is the fix is in. Okay? And we have to understand that.
Explain that, please.
The fix is in. The fix is in, meaning this is something of a fait accompli, and what has to happen is you have to work against the current to undo this. Because what you're seeing, we were commenting on the lack of intellectual rigor at the OSCE, because they no longer have to think to implement. Now they're just executing. They're just in implementation mode. So I just say it's behind the powder screen. But what I'd like to point out is, I've given this brief for a while, and here's just a quote about who I am. While all 4 of us were in senior U.S. intelligence community positions and should have known the information I briefed, we were not. And this was signed by the former Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence, that was General Boykin, the Inspector General of the Department of Defense, that was Joseph Schmitz, the Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, that was General Soyster, and the head of the CIA. They all said before we briefed them on this, they never knew this. So we have a good track record of being able to come into people who think they know and don't. So what I'd like to do is page through a couple of books on Islam that I think you might find interesting. This is War and Peace in the Law of Islam, written by Majid Khadari. He wrote this in the late 60s. He did it when in America. He, I do believe, is an Iraqi Christian. Okay? And this book called The Quranic Concept of War, written by a brigadier general in the Pakistani army named S.K. Malik. He wrote it when he was a brigadier general on the Chief of Staff office, and it was forwarded by the Chief of Staff of the Pakistani army, General Zia ul-Haq. For those who may not be aware, Zia ul-Haq became the head of Pakistan. Yes. Now, just like to point out that in an Islamic country, where a general writes a book approved by the Chief of Staff of the army called The Quranic Concept of War, he would not have been allowed to have this title had the book not explained the Quranic concept of war. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The fact that he's able to have that title demonstrates that it is in fact accepted, because it would be a violation of Islamic law. Now this is where we might want some translations, but what do they say in this book? It follows that the existence of the Dar al-Harb, the world of war, the world of the enemy. If I were here, if we were in the States, or if I was doing a day-long brief, I'd bring a book. I'd have someone look up in a book of Islamic law. I'd bring 3 books. You look up the word harbi, enemy person from the territory of war. It it follows that the existence of the Dar al-Harb was ultimately outlawed under the Islamic General Order, under Islamic law, that the Dar al-Islam, the world of Islam and peace, is permanently under jihad obligation until the Dar al-Harb is reduced to non-existence, and that any community accepting certain disabilities must submit to Islamic rule and reside in the Dar al-Islam, or be bound as clients to the Muslim community. The universality of Islam and all of its embracing creed is imposed on the believers as a continuous process of warfare, psychological and political, if not strictly military. What is being said here?
Braucht jemand eine Übersetzung? Nein, geht?
Good? I'll go ahead. Good? Because what is being said here? The concept of Islamic warfare is perpetual. They may be time limited on when they can or can't fight the kinetic battle, the shooting battle, but they are always under obligation to fight the political and psychological war.
It's the state of mind.
Yes. And so you could say, Steve, I disagree with that. I say, I'm fine. Steve, I have a friend who's Muslim. He doesn't think that way. I say, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. But you need to have an understanding that at the official level, and the groups we're looking at, they absolutely think this, and as a practical matter, they are correct. Okay? Because what I find has happened is people decide, instead of knowing the facts of the matter, they take what is considered hearsay and what their friend tells them. And that's okay if you're with your friend at the bar or at the coffee house if he's Muslim. But at a certain point, if you're making decisions, you have a duty to be competent, that is the duty to know. Like I told them to their face. You don't get to make a decision about what Islam is because a country representing, a diplomat representing a foreign country tells you what it is. You have a duty representing your country to know what they mean when they say it. So you know if they're lying. Okay? Or just having a different understanding of the same thing. So here you have it. I want to prepare you for a concept. In Western concepts of warfare, and certainly in the U.S. concept of warfare, warfare is about bringing force to bear and crushing people. So you could say that we have the Arnold Schwarzenegger body with the, average size head. I'll say, they don't believe in being robust. They believe the Islamic concept of warfare is one that is fought in the preparation stage. The main battle is fought in preparation. And it's really important because I want you to keep your eye. By the time they've done the political and psychological, when they strike, they expect you to collapse. Just like Spain. See what I'm saying? That's the concept. So the main effort in Islamic warfare is what they call the preparation stage, the subversion stage. That's super important because it has a different frame of reference. And so what do we have here? Here's the general. So spirit, zealous, complete, thorough should be our preparation for war, that we should enter upon the war of muscle, having already won the war of will. Only a strategy that aims at striking terror in the hearts of the enemies from the preparation stage can produce direct results in turning Lydell Hart's dream into a reality. Lydell Hart is a famous British military strategist. Okay? Let me say ding ding here. The Pakistanis, the Saudis, the Egyptians, they all go to the English and the US 4 colleges. They know our strategy like it was taught to them by us. Because it was. We have no concept of their strategy, even though they write it in English. Okay? So, what we have here, I'm just going to read a couple things from the book. So, in all the situations referred to above, we see that whenever Almighty Allah wishes to frustrate and destroy the designs of His enemies, He does so by strengthening the hearts of the believers. Well, what should we do to impose our will and decision upon the enemy? To find answers to this question, let's take another probe into the book. What's the book? The Quran. How many people here think the Quran is an equivalent to the Bible? Raise your hand.
Not at all.
No, I mean just a holds the place because it's
in general,
not.
maybe.
Huh?
In general, possibly.
Well, it's not, and it's important to understand. The Hadith, the sayings of the Prophet, would be at the level of our Bible. or Christian or Jewish Bible, with one exception. The Hadith are the, what's the word? Indirect divine revelation. Indirect divine revelation meaning a companion of the prophet heard him say, saw him say, or watched him do something, like the Gospels in the New Testament. Okay? The Quran is considered the uncreated Word of God. So its equivalent would be the Ten Commandments written by the finger of God in Torah. Okay? So that something in the Quran, which is a command, is considered a command from God, and it can never be interpreted in the sense that we like to use the word interpreted to be whatever you want it to mean. So when you're at the OSCE, like we were yesterday, and we saw the sociologists say, well, they just have to reinterpret their scriptures. Well, the problem is, if you're a Christian in the West, is we allow exactly those people to reinterpret Christian scriptures, and now nobody knows what it means anymore, if you think that's important. Okay, I just kind of want to point out. So, here is what he said is the Quranic concept of war. And I could get this book for people if they like. I am with you. Give firmness to the believers. I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. This is page 52 of the book. So, if it's in the Quran, who said it? Allah. Soon we will cast terror into the hearts of the unbelievers. Okay, and those are the people of the book who aided them. Allah did cast them down from their strongholds and cast terror into their hearts, so that some he slew and some he made prisoners. And he made you heirs of their lands and their houses and their goods, of a land which you had not frequented before. And Allah has power over all things. So, if it's a land where they had not frequented before, is this defensive warfare? Or is this invasion? Okay? Now here's the thing. This verse from the Quran is known to be associated with the attack on a Jewish tribe called the Bani Qurayza. Okay? So, some you slew, all adult men, meaning any male with pubic hair. Some you made prisoners of, the women and the children. Is this not what ISIS is doing today?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are they quoting this? So what they did was they beheaded every male, sold the women and children into slavery. So we know that what this is associated with. And the final verse, and I think, let not the believers think they can get the better of the godly. They will never frustrate them. Here it is. I want you to look at this. Against them make ready your strength, the utmost of your power, including steeds of war to strike terror into the hearts of the enemies of Allah, and your enemies and others besides who you do not know, but whom Allah doth know. The U.S. 82nd Airborne has a saying, kill them all, let God sort them out. And I'm told it goes back to a medieval phrase. But the point is, doesn't this look like kill them all, let God sort them out? Oh, Islam doesn't stand for that. Okay. Now I want you to remember, against them make ready, because this quote starts with 856. This is where 860 begins. And to be truthful, I cut off part of it because I just wanted to fit it in here. So the Quranic concept of war over a 3-page period gives 4 quotes from the Quran to say what the Quranic concept of war is. That the Pakistani military and the Pakistani Attorney General, Advocate General really, said it is good. They called it a restatement of the law. Okay. The Indians pulled this out of the pockets of people they fight in Kashmir. So these are the 4 quotes that represent the Quranic concept of war. What is the Quranic concept of war?
Cast terror.
Cast terror in the hearts of the unbelievers. Now, I'm not asking anybody to believe me. In fact, this is page 56 to 58, so it's really a 2-page period where this is done. I'm not asking you to believe that I even wrote this right. You can get this book. It was written in English. Like everything they do is written in English. Okay? And you can read it. Because one of the things I do is I don't take the most extreme interpretation of anything, because I never have to do that. So we already know that the Pakistanis have been on this position since that book was written in 1978. So, he goes on and he says, terror struck into the hearts of the enemies is not only a means, it is an end in itself. Once a condition of terror into the opponent's heart is obtained, hardly anything is left to be achieved. It is the point where the means and end meet and merge. Terror is not a means of imposing decision upon the enemy. It is the decision we wish to impose upon him. We don't only want to use terror to defeat you, we want you in a permanent state of terror. Okay? This was not written by Al-Qaeda, remember. So let's take a look at a couple things here. This page right here. I'll try to get out of your way here. Terror cannot be struck in the hearts of an army by merely cutting its lines of communication or depriving it of its right to withdraw. It is basically related to the strength or weakness of the human soul. The goal is to destroy faith. Faith in your God, faith in your world, faith in your leadership. Do you think most people who understood what was going on at the OSCE yesterday would lose faith in their leaders if they got an eye of it? They understood what was happening? It's a delegitimization campaign, if you want to use the language of insurgency. Psychological dislocation is temporary. Spiritual dislocation is permanent. To instill terror in the hearts of the enemy, it is essentially the ultimate analysis to dislocate his faith. An invincible faith is immune to terror. A weak faith offers inroads to terror. So, this is what is euphemistically called spiritual warfare. At the top, the number one form of warfare, the one doctrinal basis of Islamic concept of jihad is spiritual warfare, to get you to be spiritually void. It makes sense that they would align with a political movement that would reduce everything you think to be meaningless. Does that not make sense? If you watch what the Brotherhood does with these groups, they never participate in the things that the left is doing, but they always push them to do it as allies. Because they want the left to reduce society to meaninglessness and hopelessness. What does anything mean? Okay? They come in and they establish order. So, people forget this. Back in the 80s, Я свободно говорю по-русски. I was a Russian language qualified person and had a job in the government where I had to know Russian. Okay? And people forget this. When Lenin came in, okay, he had free love, he had open societies, easy divorce. People were naming their children Dynamo and stuff like that, an electric plant. When Stalin came around, people were so frozen because there was no order. What he did was he brought order. I will give you order, but you will follow me. And you know what the people said? Yes. But what did Lenin and the revolution do? It destroyed the old order. Okay? Hitler's kind of interesting because he took over with the brown shirts. They were kind of like Lenin. Okay? When I say genius, I don't mean this in any positive sense. I just mean that the man thought this through. He then had the Night of the Long Knives, where he brought in the establishment people, the black shirts, to actually run everything. He actually had his own revolution. He had a revolution, his counter-revolution. You think about that. So what you should think of is the Brotherhood and the OIC sees the left as the revolution, and they want to be the counter-revolution. It says, you want order, you want your daughter not to be pornified on the internet like you were when you were 18 years old and told that's normal. Mm-hmm. You want to have your daughter go to a bathroom and not have to worry about a transgender person being there. I'll tell you what, we'll give you that. We'll kill them. But you will follow us. And when that time comes, what you see today is all about destroying the current order to establish a new order. Mm-hmm. And co-opting the current leaders who are supposed to be something else into this because they're afraid to say no. And that's when they come in and they'll say, make sense? Yeah. This is the grand. What's hard is, what was really hard for me is I could do this. I could say, what's going on in Europe? Oh, sir, boom, 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 boom. What's going on? Boom, boom, boom. What's going on in America? You never look at it in your own country because you never expect it to happen in your own country. Yeah. And I said, I was like, let me play a game. Let me analyze what's going on here like what's going on over there. Because I was like really good at what I did. Okay, and you kind of go like, oh shit. Let's edit that out. Oh gosh. What is this? But when you have an enemy who understands that your population is spiritually vacant, and they're gonna get your people to crush that for them, okay? They know what people will want, and the left will not be able to deliver on that. So, oh, I forgot to read this. Whenever the form or type of strategy directed against the enemy, it must, in order to be effective, be capable of striking terror in the hearts of the enemy. This rule is fully applicable to nuclear as well as conventional war. So I want to make it clear, this is not an Al-Qaeda document. This is a Pakistani document. Nuclear power is already on record as saying they can justify nuclear weapons in a jihad. That's true as a matter of fact. If you disagree, you're wrong. Okay? So here we have this document, and it's going to be my way of introducing the Brotherhood to you. I will tell you, this document was written in 1991 and captured in a raid of a Muslim Brotherhood archive in Virginia. Okay? But its precursor document was found in a raid in Lugano, Switzerland, called The Project, that was written in 1982. So everything you see here from this American case, you should assume there is an exact equivalent hitting the exact level here. Because you think that Germany is different than France, is different than America. From their perspective, it's just different flavors of the same thing, all of which is to be brought together, and what they would have is a coordinated understanding. So if there's a CAIR, C-A-I-R in America, it will take you all of a minute of research to find out who the exact equivalent is here. Okay.
Well, here we have the Islamische Glaubensgemeinschaft in Österreich. That would be the equivalent of CARE.
Okay. So here's a document. There was a man, his name was El Barassi. He was driving over the Chesapeake Bridge in Maryland, and his wife was taking pictures of the support structures. The police pulled her over. It turned out he had a material witness warrant against him, so they detained him. They had a material witness warrant on him because of his affiliations with the Brotherhood, already known. So they go to his home in Northern Virginia, I think it's Annandale, Virginia, and they find in his house a basement. That's no big thing, but in his basement they found a sub-basement. That's different. And they found these boxes and boxes of Muslim Brotherhood documents. This is one of those documents that was seized. And it was entered into evidence in something called the Holy Land Foundation case. So,
Excuse me,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to block you.
Can anybody translate the title of that? What it says?
Yes, it's called An Explanatory Memorandum on the General Strategic Goal of the Group in North America.
I'm sorry, I didn't see what it said.
Well, I just popped it. Can I have
You
you
want
just...
me to do it?
Yeah, just you do
give it
this.
to me.
This is right. Okay. Now, why is this important? Well, first of all, it was written in 1991 by a man named Akram, who at the time was the head of the Brotherhood, or a leader of the Brotherhood in North America. So, and because it was used as evidence. Go ahead. Just hit the space bar.
Oh, sorry.
So, did everybody read that? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Next one.
Go ahead. So, what does it say? The enablement of Islam in North America, meaning establishing an effective and stable Islamic movement, capital I, capital M. It's important to know, and I don't know the German equivalent, but it's important to know the Islamic movement is the name of a movement. Al-Qaeda is part of it, the Brotherhood is part of it, the Taliban is part of it. If you see the word Islamic movement is not capitalized, it's because the translator didn't understand that it's the name of a movement. Okay, and we have books from the 1980s, like back then it was called the IMOA, the Islamic Movement of America, and they transitioned to different names. So, an Islamic movement led by the Muslim Brotherhood, which adopts Muslim causes domestically and globally, and established an effective and stable Islamic movement led by the Muslim Brotherhood. So what do we know? In the United States, The Muslim Brotherhood claims leadership over the Islamic movement. I do believe that because this came out of Lugano, Switzerland, you will find